The question is that the motion be agreed to. The Honourable Parakura Horomia.
Mr Speaker, in the beginning I want to reiterate what the Honourable Taria Naturia said and recognise the Minister, presently Chris Finlayson, for the effort he's put in, and also the Māori Affairs Select Committee, which I'm lucky enough to be part of, led ably most of the time by Tau Henare. I also want to recognise people like Michael Cullen, who aren't here, and the officials. It's also important to give congratulations and thanks to Awhi Mate, Te Ariki Morehu. Te Ariki has been a long proponent of getting towards the finishing date, and I know that he would look forward to this. Morris Meha, Neville Napier, and the Ngati Makino Heritage Trust. The journey for Ngati Makino has been particularly long. Terms of negotiations were originally signed in 1998, and then the Crown withdrew from negotiations with Ngati Makino and did not re-engage with Ngati Makino until 2008. And it's commended all officials and ministers involved over a period of time for getting to that point. It's also appropriate to recognise the contribution of those people outside of the core group who have worked hard to get this bill to where it is today. This bill spells out one of the torturous journeys that a people, iwi Māori, have had to suffer right from 1863. The war between the Crown and the Kingitanga was something that brought tension to the region, and certainly the Kingitanga was strong in their views and why they were holding to their beliefs. And it did create a bit of a split in Ngati Makino, where some sided with the Kingitanga and some with the Crown. But through the years, there was conflict, and in 1865, when the Crown sought those responsible for some of the killings in the war, Ngati Makino certainly suffered. The Crown deemed that certain tribes had been in rebellion and confiscated approximately 448,000 acres of land in the Eastern Bay of Plenty. And from that point on, Ngati Makino certainly suffered severe disadvantage. They went through other stages where they preferred to lease the land that the Crown finally gave them, and they got into sales, but there were also huge debts placed on them in relation to survey costs. And the accruing charges became so enormous that they sold land on to write the bills. And those sort of actions were unnecessary, unfair, and certainly we get to this stage of putting that past wrong right. And certainly the Minister needs to be commended for his effort. By 1900, Ngati Makino were virtually landless. Nevertheless, the Crown compulsorily acquired further Ngati Makino lands and the public lands that forestry was put onto, and then encouraged those members from the 1920s to work on those public lands. So a lot of the Ngati Makino people then moved in the 50s, 60s, 40s to be involved in a lot of the labouring made available on these big Crown estates, and it is certainly exciting and encouraging to see parts of the settlement trying to put some of that right. The bill records the settlement package comprising a historical account and apology, and cultural and commercial redress, including the transfer of 8 sites of significance to the Ngati Makino Heritage Trust, a whenua rāhui classification over 256 hectares of the Lake Rotomā Scenic Reserve, which provides for the Crown to acknowledge Ngati Makino values in relation to the area. Relationship redress, including protocols with the Minister for Culture and Heritage and the Minister of Energy and Resources, and again in most of the journeys of these bills and discussions encourage the Minister to take an active role in ensuring that those government agencies and those ministers live true to the word and the settlement, because at times I think it's let slip for a host of reasons. And Minister, I would again encourage you to make sure, because it's important to them. The $1 million already paid for Ngati Makino Marae restoration and revitalisation, and the $500,000 already paid to assist with identification and remedy of the social services needs. The $9.8 million plus interest accruing from the date the agreement in principle, and the purchase of the balance of the Rotoehu West Crown Forest licensed lands. The Māori Committee has examined the bill, heard from submitters. While some submitters oppose the settlement, it was recommended strongly that it be passed with amendments, including that Part A, it provide for the New Zealand Conservation Authority or a Conservation Board to have particular regard to Ngati Makino's values and protection principles. Mr. Speaker, this is one of the settlements that has been long overdue, not just because of the period of time and history, but because how the government at certain periods has tried to sidestep putting the wrong right. And today we certainly join in supporting this bill from our side of the House and look forward to the finality next Thursday.
The Honourable Christopher